I'm Scott Allen Miller. It's the 28th of November, 2022, and this is my vlog of daily life in Nicaragua. It is Monday. We're starting the day actually in Managua. I'm filming here in Leon because I had no way I could film on this morning actually as things happened, but we were here yesterday for Liesel's 14th birthday, so we celebrated that yesterday, and today we're still here in the city because we could go in and out of Managua on the same day, but by the time you go out for dinner, which is a big thing you want to do when you go to Managua, it's on the late side to be driving home. And why? Because it's not like hotels are expensive. And one thing that the United States is really, really good at, actually, is late night driving. Cars all universally have good headlights. Roads are free of debris, and most roads are really well lit. So it's actually a thing you notice, and not just from down here, but from many parts of the world when you go to the United States. There is excellent nighttime driving for semi-obvious reasons. It's actually a thing in the United States. You need to drive places more than most countries need you to drive. There's normally public transportation or just whatever. Life does not require you to drive at night. And in the United States, you have to drive so much, partially because it's just so sprawling. Canada is the same thing, that the accommodations for that are actually really excellent. Great lighting, and everyone's cars have good lights, and people are really well versed on what to do with their high beams, and they enforce that stuff really strictly. And so it makes the idea of, you know, if I was in the United States and you said, wow, Scott, I need you to, it's getting dark, it's about dusk, you've got plenty of rest already, could you grab a Red Bull or two, hop in a car, and drive until dawn? And I go, well, that's annoying, but yeah, not a big deal, right? And no point would I be like, I can't do that, right? But when I lived in Romania and I had to drive at night, people were like, whoa, whoa. And we weren't like driving overnight. We were leaving at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, driving, we figured, until about 10, maybe 11 at night, which in the United States would be a no-brainer. You'd never even cross your mind to question that. And doing that in Romania, people were like, what? Are you crazy? You can't drive at night. We're like, what are you talking about? And then we instantly discovered you cannot drive at night. There were no lights. And when there was horses in the road with carts and no reflectors, and just crazy situations that you had to see things that were unlit all the time, and inconsistent lighting. And of course, there goes the church blasting music so that we have to move. All right, it's not ideal lighting, but it'll do. And so it was really terrible driving in Romania. When I lived in Panama, we were driving the Pan American Highway, the main road through not just Panama, but all of southern North America. And we would have entire herds of cattle in darkness on the highway in the middle of the night, like no warning at all. Here in Nicaragua, it's similar. You could have, first of all, there's always dogs in the road, and a lot of them. There are often people in the road. There are bicycles in the road. There are just things in the road, and people who have their brights on. Lots of cars don't have lights on at all, and it's just really dangerous. So a lot of people just avoid driving at night. The traffic goes way down, and there's not very much call for it. And all the buses stop running about the time it gets dark. Not exactly. If you're heading into Managua, for example, the buses still run for probably 1 or 2 hours after it's gotten dark, so it's not the end of the world. But things really do slow down. In the city, obviously, cars are still going around inside the city, but the intercity traffic, the highway traffic, really dies down. So it's just, you just stop driving at night. It's just part of life outside of the US and Canada for the most part, and you kind of don't think about it too much. I wasn't really thinking I was going to talk about it, but it really is a thing that if you're going to stay, right? And so for us, you know, even though Managua is only 1.5 to maybe 2 hours away, this is some bright sunlight, by the way. I'm going to move into the shadows. As much as this does kind of make some nice color and stuff on the show, I kind of like not toasting. So we don't really think about it, but when we go to Managua, even though it's not that far away, it's like, well, we always want to stay late. We want to eat on the late side. We want to get as much food in, maybe activities as possible. We don't want to feel rushed to get back. And of course, we could get back by midnight if we left after a lot of the places closed, but why? Just stay in a nice hotel, and then you can get breakfast there, right? And then you have a nice leisurely trip back in the morning. So that is what we did. Got up this morning and did, well, actually got up really early because Luciana woke up ill. She got up and was actually throwing up early this morning. We have no idea what from. Something just bothered her stomach, and so she was up pretty early and not feeling so good. She was not terrible, and both of my kids are really good about handling being sick. Like, it's just not a big deal. They will not tell anybody. They'll just get up, go, do whatever they need to do, and then later be like, oh yeah, no, I wasn't feeling well. And you're like, well, they're so independent about that stuff. It's weird. But so she was not feeling well. She went back to bed, and we're like, oh, we can't really do the things we wanted to do with Luciana because we were going to go to Molino, where we tried to go yesterday, but couldn't because we went too late. And so we ended up just taking it. So Luciana stayed in the hotel, and we took Liesel for her day after birthday breakfast to Scandinavo, which is right in Los Robles, right by the hotel, because Molino would have been some ways away. We're like, well, we'll leave her in the hotel, but we're just around the corner, like we're walking distance. So it better than driving across the city. What if she needed us? We couldn't get back super fast. Oh, there's that cute dog that was on the show just the other day. I'm walking the same spot. I'm going to turn this around. I don't know how the light's going to be. Actually, it may not be bad because there's a lot of sunlight bouncing off the houses. I show it from time to time, but I love this side of the road. It's so pretty. And it's a beagle. He loves to bark. Beagles love to bark. He's a very sweet dog. And so, buenas tardes. So we went to Scandinavo, which has fantastic food. It's Dominica's favorite place. And I got, of course, the Eggs Benedict with salmon again, because you have to. Liesel had gotten the scrambled eggs with salmon last time, and she's not really into it. So she went for believe it or not, cauliflower soup today, which was quite good. And Dominica goes there often enough in Managua that they know her order. She doesn't even have to order. They're like, oh, you want this and this without the onions. So that was a delicious breakfast. Luciana was very sad that she missed it because she loves the salmon. Buenas tardes. And so she really wanted to go, but she wasn't feeling well. Liesel wasn't feeling super great. By the time we were finishing breakfast, she was starting to not feel very well. We don't know if they got some food poisoning from something they ate together last night, because they did share a lot of things. But it was also just a really busy day. We also went to a lot of places where there's just a lot of contact with people, right? We did bowling, we did the arcade, we did laser tag, and there's just a ton of touching things. And we were in the mall shopping. And so there's so many opportunities, so much more than usual to just get something, right? Some kind of bug or whatever. So that's probably what happened. So Luciana was real sick this morning. Liesel was just a little sick, but that kind of put a damper on the day. So after that, we were like, well, okay, we really got to get going. So we headed back after breakfast, picked up Luciana, who was feeling mostly better at that point. She really wasn't bad. We got them both to take the Dramamine and loaded up the car and headed back to Leon, which was good because we ended up needing to get back. And as soon as we were back, I had so much work that I needed to do that I ended up, I think it was probably about 1, maybe 2 o'clock that we got back, because it does take a little while to do the drive, and we're not hurrying or anything. And got home, and I just ended up getting into the office and having to work the entire evening. It was a mad rush of a day, but actually went it went fine. So we had a nice breakfast, and both girls were feeling fine by the time they got back and took an afternoon nap or whatever, so no big deal. I actually really like the light over here. You kind of get the no trash dumping sign behind me, which is not the most flattering thing, but it's actually sunlight. Of course it's sunlight. I meant to say it was sunset light coming down and hitting this kind of earthy, coral, salmon-toned building across the way, and then lighting me from that. It's quite pleasant. I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see what I'm talking about here, but look at this really bright, wow, to me it almost looks green in here, but that is definitely a coral color. I don't know if my eyes are playing tricks on me. That all looks green on the camera, but it is anything but when you're actually sitting here. All right. Definitely don't have Olympus or Fuji colors on this, I guess. Normally the GoPro colors are pretty accurate, but I'm wearing these, and when I look over the top of them, everything's got a kind of green, because these are actually, people say it, right? Look at the world through rose-colored glasses. These are my rose-colored glasses for real. I do like wearing them. I find that very pleasant. That's why the expression, I guess. But when you do this, man, all of a sudden I realize I'm doing this. You guys are like, what are you looking at, Scott? You're crazy. I have a screen of myself right next to the lens. It's this big. It's absolutely itty bitty. It's less than an inch tall, and it's color, and it tells me like the battery and my storage and how long I've been talking, and to make sure I'm on the right mode, right? I'm 4K 30. I've got the right, like it's got just a little bit of stuff like that, and then it shows me. And so when I do this, I can lean in and I can see it, and I realize how crazy I look to you guys, but it really pops. Like the green back here and my blue shirt are like, wow, because I'm coming from the red to that. Wow, that was a long explanation for why my eyes adjust to rose. Anyway, so the thing, I'm just going to talk really briefly about this topic today, as I didn't really have one. This is really kind of my adventure day. But the thing I wanted to talk about, a lot of people, because we just talked to someone about this, is they move down here and they say, well, I want to run a business here. I don't want to make money. Great, because you're not going to, right? I want to run a business here because I want my house to pay for itself. Or I just, I want things to offset some things. And I think this is worth talking about because it may not be what you think. So in the United States, in Canada, if you were to open a business and you say, well, it doesn't exactly pay me, but it makes some money and it helps to offset things. We all know what that means. It's making money, but not enough to justify all your time. Okay, that's fine. And so that's a thing that may make sense under certain circumstances. But here in Nicaragua, what you have to understand is if you run a business, you have to assume, by and large, if you have a really great plan, really know what you're doing, okay, there's that possibility of you're going to have a business and make money. That's okay. And there's that possibility that you're going to have a business and break even. That's okay. And if you can do it, great, go for it. But the thing that people tend to do is they bring this American context and say, well, businesses make money. So if I have a business, it may not make a lot of money and I may not be concerned about it making money, but it's going to help me offset, right? And that offset, you should hear, means it's making money, just not a lot. And here in Nicaragua, what you need to understand is the majority of businesses that people have and talk about and whatever are not making money. They are not offsetting something. They are losing. Now, why is that? Why do people do this so frequently? And the easy answer is residency. So many people want residency and they look at their investment as, well, I have to put in $35,000, it's kind of a full number, into a business in order to get my residency. My residency itself will earn me all kinds of money because it's assuming you have the residency and assuming you do the foreign earned income tax exclusion that we talked about on several previous episodes. You do those things and most Americans, at least over time, are going to earn back that $35,000 no problem. Might take several years, might take several months, but you're going to get it through those things. You're not going to, the business isn't going to make it. The residency and the foreign earned income exclusion are going to earn it, but you'll make that money. So it's like, I'm making money, but it's not the business making money. Now, if you do that, you have to understand, so that business is going to lose money. Almost certainly, most do. Most businesses in the United States lose money too. People don't realize that. They just go out of business. Here, those businesses tend to keep going. Why do they keep going? Because they're establishing the residency stuff. And so people are okay losing the money. Now, what they want to do is lose as little as possible. I put in $30,000. It reduced to $28,000. Okay, so you lost $2,000 because your business wasn't great. That's actually pretty fantastic. That's a small percentage, and it got you your residency, which whoppingly takes care of that money. That loss is nothing in the grand scheme of all your savings from the residency and nowhere close to the savings from a foreign earned income exclusion. This is all just US. Canada would be similar, it's just a different mechanism. So you have these mechanisms for this incredible increase in your income and this really great money-making thing. But people lose track of that. It's not the business that's actually doing it. The business is simply making it possible. And there may be other ways to do it. And so that's the important context. That's why you see all these people with businesses and you think, oh, are you doing great? I'm doing great. Really? Your business is making money? No, not. Are you crazy? What are you thinking? No, but I'm losing very little. Oh. And then it's easy to forget that losing very little doesn't mean making very little. It means losing very little. It means you're spending money. So what is it? What am I trying to say with this? So people sometimes come down, they're like, well, I'm going to buy a house, right? And then I think I'll run a business out of the house. And now I talked to someone recently and I said, you're not going to make money. He said, I don't want to make money. I like running businesses. I have no idea what he's going to do. I like making chocolate. I want to have a little chocolate business out of my house. I don't do it to make money. I do it because I enjoy it. All right, if it's for fun, go for it. You will lose less money here than most places, making it that you can do things for fun even longer, right? If you want to run a store that never gets customers, you can survive not getting customers here 1,000 times longer than you can survive not getting customers in the US or Canada. So excellent, right? If you're coming down and saying, well, I'm going to get a house and I want to run a business out of it because I want it to offset the cost of living, now you have a problem, because while that's plausible, and I'll give you an example where it works, in general, this is ignoring the fact that the businesses typically lose money. So if you want to offset, you can't offset by losing money. That's increasing the disaster, not offsetting it. It's onsetting it. That's not even a thing. But you know what I mean? So that's where people miss. There's this connection, and I can see why it happens. But it's really easy to forget that it's the residency, to forget that it's the foreign earned income, to forget that there are all these mechanisms that are potentially making money, and that the actual businesses are typically losing money. And the reason we're happy and keep them running is because we're okay losing money. It's getting us something else. So the danger is you come down and say, I'm going to offset. Now, I have friends who did this. They have a house. They don't live in it all the time. When they're not there, they put it on Airbnb. When it's on Airbnb, it makes more money than it loses. So it doesn't pay for itself, but it does offset. Is it a business? Not really. I mean, it is, but it isn't. It's not a Nicaragua business. It's an American business. They take the money in the US. It's all handled through the US. They have no Nicaragua business structure. They have essentially no Nicaragua costs. They're not really running a business. They're not hiring people. They're just renting out their house. And it's their house that they live in. So yes, renting it out is offsetting some of the cost. That is true. And that type of mechanism will often work. It's not going to make money. It's only going to reduce the loss. But the effort of doing the Airbnb thing is paying for its own time. So yes, it's a good thing. But if you're coming down and saying, oh, I'm going to buy a house and I want the house to be as cheap as possible, running a business that loses money will not make it cheaper. It will not offset. It will make it worse in most cases. I'm not saying that in all cases. Some people will manage to run a successful business and find profit, even if it's very small. Then the question becomes, for the amount of effort and risk in business, you always have to include the risk. You don't want to risk $1 million to make $5, right? Not 5 million, $5, right? Even if you said, I earned $5 this year, you'd be like, yeah, but you put your life at risk for it, right? If you'd have lost $1 million, that would have sucked. You have to be successful so many times to justify the risk of $1 million to make 5. It's not worth it, unless it's like 1 trillion to 1. And so that's not true. If it was like 40,000 to 1, it would still pay off, as long as you had enough buffer to survive the interim. Eventually it would pay off. So this concept is so common. We're going to start a business, we're going to offset costs, and it's not realistic. It's almost never going to happen. And if you're in the position where you're not going to be getting your benefit from the residency, you're not going to be you're getting your benefit from the foreign earned income exclusion, then you're giving up the big money that most people who are running businesses are surviving on, and you're going to be trying to compete with businesses that make their money while running at a loss in the country. And that's going to make it so much harder. And so those are things nobody is really taking the time to run the math in their heads. Everybody has this pie in the sky. And I know I have a friend here, she's getting married to an Australian, and he doesn't have enough money to come here, and she doesn't have the money to go there, and he doesn't have enough money to get her there to pay for a visa for her. And so she's never going to be able to move there. And they keep going, yeah, we know that there's no money. We can't afford to do any of the things we want to do. We're never going to be able to see each other. But then they always follow it up with, but we'll be married. And I don't mean that in a they just want to be married kind of way. I mean that in a they keep referring to it as if the issues they have with money or the visa or whatever are going to be overcome by the fact that they're married. But the marriage is assumed in all the numbers they're running, and they have no answer. Once they get married, they are eligible for the visa they can't afford. And they have no plans for a future where they can afford it. Right? She would have to earn 8 or 10 times what she currently makes. He would have to, he's on like not welfare, but he's disability. He's on disability, permanent disability, and will never earn enough money. He has to give up his disability in order to take a job that would pay for anything, and even then we don't know if he could. Like, there's so many problems with their game plan that they have no future where they can reasonably ever see each other, because they can never afford the plane tickets to go back and forth. But they have this in the back of their head. Well, the fact that they're married, they think is going to somehow magically overcome all these roadblocks, and they're forgetting that the roadblocks are based on the fact that they're married when they're calculating them. And that's the same type of mental block that's happening to so many people when they come here, that they're sure that by opening a business, it will make money. No matter how much we say it will probably lose money, they keep thinking, but it's a business, it'll offset. You don't mean lose money, you mean not make very much. No, that's not what we mean. If you could make very little here, oh my gosh, we'd be so thrilled making very little, right? That's just a thing I want to get across, that yes, some people make money. I don't want to say there's no one making money. I don't want to say that you shouldn't invest. All those things are great depending. I just want you to be realistic. I want you, when you're running numbers, run numbers. I come from a business background. I'm a business consultant. I do this all day long. The answer is always use math, put it on paper, use actual numbers. And when it's a positive, it means you're making money. When it's a zero, it means you're breaking even. When it's a negative, you're losing money. If it's a negative, it is not a positive. That was kind of a pun. It is, if you're losing money, you're losing. And unless you have a reason to lose, don't do it because you are sure that a loss is not a loss. It's not how it works. All right, thanks for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe. Are you thinking about starting a business down here? Let's talk about that. Let's get some ideas. Let's run some numbers. Let's do some stuff. Let's put it in the comments and talk about that stuff. That's a great topic to cover. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee. That goes a really long way to helping me. I did just have to buy the GoPro 11, which you will be seeing in about 2 weeks. I'm very excited. And way bigger than that, I have to buy a new laptop in order to make the videos for you in 2 weeks. And that's going to cost me a lot of money, so please, it would be great if you bought me a coffee. And like and subscribe, of course, and share with your friends on social media. Tell everyone about the show. Get them to watch, get them to comment, and I will see all of you tomorrow.